What's up, Gloucester Township? It is, what is it? It is Saturday, September 15th.
I don't think it's the 14th or something, yeah.
15th. This will be, well, it's going to come out on the 15th. It's technically Friday night, late Friday night now.
Yeah. Just recapping the last meeting from the July 10th?
10th, I guess it was.
Yeah. It was an interesting meeting. They had a workshop in the early part of the day. So just not to rat you out, but you weren't there, so he's going to be relying a little bit on me to fill him in, which is
calling it in
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's I not only was I not there, but I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it. I watched part of the meeting that night, but I was so busy working, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to watch it in the next couple of days. And then you're like, hey, we're doing it tonight, right? I'm like, I'm going to watch it right now. And then people came over to check my air conditioner, and then somebody else came over, and then I was like, I'm going into this blind. So,
now you watched some of it, but the workshop thing is what we're going to go over first, and that is not a televised or recorded or broadcast or whatever you want to say event. So you weren't actually there, so I'll be filling in for the most part. The other stuff you did watch and saw the clips and all that stuff. But either way, the workshop meeting this week this week. Wow.
Yeah, it's Monday night.
Yeah,
Monday night.
All right. We're not cutting this, so we're doing it live here. I'm messing it up, but we're doing it live. All right, the workshop meeting, there was a pool that somebody had that their property line wasn't actually their property line, but for, a few decades they assumed it was theirs. There was a whole big, thing. So the town approved giving that property to them, even though it was actually the township's property. There will be more on that later on. There was a clip somebody asking about that, which I found it a little bit odd, but either way, understandable. They were going over, there was a boiler at Public Works, or not Public Works, at the MUA. So as everybody knows, the MUA was recently, well, I don't know that everybody knows it, but the MUA was recently taken over by the township. It is no longer a municipal utility authority. It is a piece of our, Public Works, I guess, department. And they had a boiler that cost $400,000 to replace. That was in a catastrophic event that had happened. I thought I heard him say like 2 years ago or so. But the boiler is 20 or 30 years old. According to Remington and Vernick, who is a engineering company, pay-to-play vendor in the town. And I don't know. Tom Carter seemed to act like it was a big surprise that this had happened. Like, we need to get this done. This has to happen. Like this, they were discussing this here as if it were a surprise. And one of the interesting things about it is you think, when something like that happens, we have insurance, right? There's insurance that covers. Like, does that not cover? Like, if there was a big flood that happened,
yeah,
are we getting insurance back, or how? I don't know. That was a question we had. But anyway, then they moved into the discussion about the master plan, which is like zoning for the township, and what things, I guess you could say, each zone, kind of has the things that are approved or allowed in in an area. So the direction that the town, or the administration wants to see things happening, they kind of zone different things to allow, like, hey, if we want to put in, like highway commercial, like a grocery stores or something like that, like this is where we want to see those kind of things. Warehouses we want to see over here. We want to see, these are all the, R1, like a 1 acre per, or 1 house per acre kind of thing. This is R3, or all those different things. That's what in the master plan would have that type of a thing in there. So it was talked about that's going to be a maybe 3 to 6 month long process. It looked like his guy's name was Mike Davis from Remington and Vernick was there for the zoning map. I think he might have been a little older. I thought he was 16, 17-ish. I don't know. He seemed pretty young. But They said Kevin Zielinski is who recommended the map changes, and the maps need to be updated because it's not been updated in about 6 years. The zoning map, they also said, would be digital. And then one of our council members, I forget her name. Is it Caitlin Garcia?
Oh, yeah.
What is her name? I can't think of her name. It's Caroline.
Nobody. Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we don't know her name.
Yeah, we've got an agreement that we don't remember each other's names.
Right. Yeah, there was some sort of agreement, but she wanted to know what a zoning map was. She didn't even know. That was kind of interesting.
Oh, my dog knows what the zoning map is.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird. That boiler thing. Before you go any further, the boiler. Is this the heat? The MUA or
correct? Yeah. So it was a lot of talk about this being a dire emergency to get this done right away because it's going to be cold soon, which is true. But it seemed like they were saying that this happened like 2 years ago or something. But the curious part about it that somebody brought up, and we'll go over it later on, we have some clips about it, is what the hell do we need an engineer telling us about like if you're just replacing something, the people that are replacing it should be competent enough to replace it that you don't need to have.
The rumblings I heard was that we're going to pay, I think it's $37,000 to have somebody come in, an engineer come in,
put it right there where it was.
Yeah,
basically what needs to be done. We're going to replace this one with that one.
Yeah,
you're a professional in this job, but we need to tell you what to do with it.
It's funny because the air conditioner here is dying, and earlier had somebody come over to check it out, and they're going to put it right where the other one came out.
Right where the other one.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
So they're not remodeling anything. They're replacing it.
There's no engineers. Just two dudes came down in the basement here, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna take this one out, and we're gonna put another one right back in here."
Right, and that was so. Someone later on, we'll play that clip there. So that was somebody's point. Is
one
why?
Guy had a tape measure, so I don't know if he was an engineer, but he was measuring. Yeah. So $400,000 for a boiler too. That is that would.
Well, it's a big boiler. But the one thing they were talking about that the lifespan of a boiler only lasts about 20 or 30 years. But I feel like there are like schools in like, I don't know, Philadelphia, and the boiler in there is like 120 years old or something like that. And it might not be the most efficient thing, but it doesn't not last past 20 years. So they were kind of touting up, or not touting, like teeing up like, hey, this thing was on its way out anyway. We need to spend this money. It's it was the reason we're doing it now is because it was a catastrophic failure, but it needed to be done anyway. So don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. This is business as usual kind of thing. But the question was brought up, like you're saying, like what do we need an engineer to put this in for? Now I know that there are requirements of certain things when you get over a certain size thing that somebody does need to engineer a project. But again, you're just replacing something that exists.
It's not like the building. It's not like the building.
It costs $37,000.
Ductwork. Yeah.
So that was an interesting part. Another piece to take away from the zoning map things here, and this was brought up by somebody in town that is very smart and said, what they said during that meeting is that they can go in and change that map, and there's no notices need to be sent out to residents about something being changed. So if you guys remember all the uproar in town, and I loved it, with people were actually coming out and fighting for something that they didn't want to happen in town. And they actually made a difference by coming out. And they stopped a warehouse from going on to something that was not zoned to be a warehouse. It was a golf course, which backs up to homes and some other nature things. And it was said to this shouldn't belong. This shouldn't be allowed to be there. It's not zoned for that. Well, when you look at what's being done here and what they said, they're basically telling you like, hey, we have the ability now to go and change anything we want. And just that the master plan exists is enough notification. we don't need to go and notify any residents within 200 feet of a property or anything like that. So no one in town would ever get a notice that the Freeway Golf Course, 154-acre piece of property, was literally just changed with a stroke of a pen to be now a warehouse, is allowed to be, put there, or something else that you might not want. So,
Yeah.
That's a very, very real possibility that could happen. And if nobody else, nobody comes out to like make sure that this is not happening, it could very well become a reality that now that person that wanted to put a warehouse in there and asking for all those variances, they don't have to ask for anything because, magically, all of a sudden it just happened. And now you'll see from council with just oh, no, our hands are tied. That's just what it's zoned for. I'm sorry. There's nothing we could do. We'll get sued if we don't allow it.
Perfect timing, too, because if you own a piece of property right now and it's not zoned for what you want what you want to build on it, you could give a little bit of campaign money right now.
Well, that's true.
And it's it's campaign season.
Yep.
So you give a little bit of campaign money, and so they said this thing could run out 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 6 months from now, we're at January 15th. So they've either won or they lost. If they won, then, January 1st, they could say, oh, yeah, we're putting the warehouse there. And you can't do anything about it until 2025.
Yeah, because now it's zoned for that.
Yeah. And then there's no consequences because their next election's not until 2025. So, and in 2025,
there'll already be a thriving warehouse there you'll have 1,500 trucks a day, one every minute coming out.
And you'll be worried about the next thing to come down the road, and that's what they're banking on. So, yeah, look, if you own some property and you want zoning change, it's a great time to dump money into their pockets because that's what happens.
Or if you feel a change of the tide is coming, maybe donate the other way.
Yeah, you could
to help fight for it.
You could donate to the other team.
Yeah. I don't know that the other team's looking for that kind of donation, but I'm just saying.
I think the other team should look for that kind of donation.
Okay. Well, after the workshop meeting, which they don't happen often, but there was a somewhat packed one last time, we got into our regular council meeting here, which was recorded, so we do have some sound clips and things to go over from that. Started off with somebody asking about the LEAD grant, which is I guess it's like a police grant, so we were writing a resolution to apply for a grant for that. And then Joe D'Amico asked a question about a recycling truck that we're purchasing because now I think we always did somehow. I don't know how or why, but I feel like we've purchased recycled trucks for MUA when it was not part of the township. Do you recall that?
Yeah, we've been talking. Well, we've had a lot of
trucks.
discussions about recycle trucks.
Yeah,
and recycle trucks were old like years ago, and I thought we had replaced them already. But,
I don't know we replaced all of them, but this time we're getting a new one. It's $375,000. And, so Joe D'Amico just asked about that. It was kind of explained that, and it's understandable, it's a delay. So if you're ordering, you're specifying, these are the things that I need. It's just like you go to a car dealership nowadays. You can't just go buy what's on the lot. There's nothing on the lot. You have to tell them, these are the options I want. This is what I want. This is the color. This is, all the different things. They make it for you and send it. And that's kind of the same thing with this. It's an 18-month lead time is what we were told. But one of the other kind of curious things that was pointed out by several people was we mentioned that there's also a purchase of a Dodge Ram that we need to make for snowplow removal. And it's not odd that we're getting a truck for snowplow removal or that one needs to be replaced, but specifying that it was a Dodge Ram was kind of odd, being as that everything else that we use is Ford. And then so why would it specify Dodge Ram or equivalent, in the ordinance so it was just it
was weird because when you think about all the police cars and I forget how many police cars we have, they're all Fords. And then there's a lot of Ford, there's a lot of Ford trucks. But I guess Carter said, oh, we've got some Rams here, but it was just a weird thing to put on there, Dodge Ram. But I guess what they said was equivalent. So I don't know. Maybe it was one of those deals where like somebody said
Copy and paste it from an old one or something.
yeah, put it on there. We need a truck for this amount, and maybe somebody doesn't know anything about trucks, and there was like like a Dodge Ram. So
yeah, it's very possible.
Is there a
But
way
it
of
was just curious though.
articulating
That was
pickup truck is their go-to as Dodge Ram. I don't know. It just it was weird, stood out. Or we just thought maybe we just hired some hardcore Dodge guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I ain't driving a Chevy.
Yeah, I'm not driving that Ford. No way, man. I need a Cummins.
I'd rather push my Dodge.
Yeah. I'd rather push my Dodge. So.
But yeah, let's hit Joe's clip on that one.
Good evening, Council. Joe D'Amico, Blackwood. In regard to the trash truck that we're picking up, is that an additional equipment or is that something that's replacing something? For $375, and it's pretty, it's costly.
That is so, Mr. D'Amico, these trucks, they have to order them. There's a 18-month and 24-month delay, lag time in receiving these vehicles. We currently have 8 trucks that are recycling trucks that the MUA has.
I believe it's 7.
7.
It might be 8 because we took receipt of one, I believe, about 5 months ago.
And probably each one has an issue with them.
5
It might be,
months ago?
to be frank.
No, we're actually, now that we've taken that area over, and that's going to become a township department, our mechanics are looking at each one of those vehicles, and we're finding that there is need for sufficient repairs on each one. So the plan is to bring one in, fix that one up, get it back out, bring another in, fix that one up, rather than bringing multiple ones, because on any given recycling day, we could have as many as 4 trucks out there.
Sure.
So we need all the trucks we can get.
I didn't know if it had anything to do with the additional development stuff that's happening within the town and just,
Not really,
as a
no.
buying play.
Based on what we're doing right now, and these trucks take a beating.
In regard to the Dodge Ram, why a Dodge Ram? If we typically deal with Ford and other things, why would we go outside of what we typically use and would regularly maintain?
But it doesn't have to be a Dodge.
I saw
It says
equivalent
and/or
or equivalent. I understand that. What and plow capable.
I can't tell you why they spec that particular one out.
That's what I was curious because it's not something we typically deal with, and a maintenance thing would be completely different, obviously.
I believe we have some Dodges.
And then we to set these things up with plows. I mean, we haven't had a plowable event in 3 years for the most part. I'm sure we have. What's that?
Don't jinx.
I'm not trying to, but to equip all these things, I'm sure we have plenty of plow equipment that hasn't had a lot of wear and tear on it.
Just when you say that.
Yeah. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Well, just to that point alone, like it's we have plow equipment for a Ford truck. We have a ton of Ford trucks. Why, if we get a Dodge, it's going to have require different plow equipment than what we already have. Something for.
I guess it's a possibility. Yeah, I guess it's a possibility.
And depending on what years our other Fords are, it could also need specific. But either way, it was just an interesting.
I guess one of the arguments too is, the plow trucks probably haven't been. They probably in 3 years they probably haven't been moved.
Right.
At
What
all.
kind of
So,
abuse have they had?
What kind of
over
wear
the
and
last-
tear? I mean,
Yeah.
if we didn't need them 3 years ago, why do we need them now? Because
Don't jinx us.
yeah, were we unprepared 3 years ago in case we got snow, or I don't know. I don't know.
It's interesting. But yeah, after that, then we went to the Egov section of the meeting, which was people emailing questions in. There were a couple from just random residents asking things like ambulance service, like why do residents now need to pay for an ambulance when the ambulance gets called?
Oh yeah, I guess back in the days of GT EMS, GT residents, I think the ride was free.
Yeah, I'm not sure
There
what
was there was something about a free ride, and then I think part of your insurance was also billed for something. But now that we contract it out, we pay them $400,000 a year, and then but if the ambulance picks you up, if Inspira comes and picks you up, your insurance is paying for the ride. And whatever your insurance doesn't cover, you cover. So it's not
right. It's basically it went from a Township thing to a private company who then tries to bill your insurance company. If your insurance doesn't cover it, then they're recouping it from you, the person that had the ride, or family, or whatever. But that was one of the questions that popped up. There was also somebody asked about a park being removed, which was interesting. I don't know which park they were talking about, but they said that kind of like, what happened? Why did you take away our park? You took the equipment down, and it was kind of explained that the equipment was just too old, beyond repair.
The equipment was too old, and I think I think they said it was in a dangerous area.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they meant like traffic wise. I don't know. Maybe traffic wise.
We don't have dangerous areas in
Or
Gloucester
it's an
Township.
old World War II landmine area. I don't.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
And we didn't notice at first.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what made it dangerous. They did mention about 100 yards away. There's another park there that's newer. So,
Yeah.
I guess it kind of makes sense. It's
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I'm not.
100 yards away. I guess that's not too.
Yeah.
The lazy kids probably don't appreciate it, but whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
Scoot your scooter on over there.
Yeah. They all got. Everything's powered today. You don't have to pedal anything.
Yeah, if you have electric
one
bike,
wheels
you're
and
just-
electric scooters and yeah. Next question came in from Sam Sweet. Wanted to know a bunch of numbers. I don't know what he's cooking up over there, but Sam wanted to know to date what have we collected in one was pool fees.
Yeah.
$93,490 in pool fees.
I believe where his line of questioning on this is similar to what other residents have asked in the past. Is he's probably asking, like, what did we get in pool fees? $93,000. The pool's open. So for the budget, are they under forecasting the revenue of what the pool fees were?
Oh, okay.
Is it under budgeting how much permits were that we have received? And they're saying,
okay.
where he's saying, like, right now it's 756,000. Okay, so maybe that tells us the year closes out at whatever the number is, 932 or something like that. But now you go and look at the budget, and maybe they only budgeted 700,000. So, well, why would you budget that when you know at this point in time when you're approving the budget?
You've already got
You know what I
more
mean?
than
Like,
that.
you already have the
okay.
numbers. I think that's where he was going with that. I'm just speculating on that, Joe, but that's what I think what he was asking. I think he was asking, like, how much do we spend on snow plowing?
Okay.
What was it, $71,000?
$71,000 we spent on snow plowing in 2023 just because we have
No,
retainers.
2022, right?
No, this was 2023.
Oh. Well, that could be purchase of getting ready, with salt or something. You buy it off season, so it saves a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't
Carter
know.
said it was retainers. Just we have
Oh.
we have retainers with plow companies
Gotcha. Okay.
at $71,000. So I don't know that they actually plowed anything at all this year. Was there anything plowable?
This past year, I don't know.
I don't-
That's kind of how plowing works. Is it's you're not getting plowed unless you have somebody under contract and with a retainer. It's just like an attorney or something like that, where it's like you're paying the attorney to be your attorney when I need you. You're there. Same thing with a plow guy kind of thing. It's for like commercial property and stuff like that. It's not uncommon to have something like that in place, and then it's how much per inch that that falls. So I didn't find that odd.
So yeah, pool fees $93,490, construction fees $756,945, lease and building fees $35,200, and so snowplows we paid $71,000. How much money is in the affordable housing trust fund?
Yeah, that was
That
a good one.
is $2,178,225.27.
Yeah.
And then that was it on those numbers. I guess he's probably still going through. I think they were still doing a citizens budget thing, so
Yeah.
he probably I guess he needed numbers for that still. And Denise brought up an Egov question also. She wanted to know now if you remember over the last I guess it's been over a year now. Cannabis.
Yeah, so these facilities have a somewhat odd way that they need to get approved, right? So in order to get a license, I guess I'm probably using the wrong terms, but if they need to get a license from the state to operate, they need to get a letter of approval from the township. The township has to have, regulations set as far as where your property could be, as long as it's not within X amount of feet from a school or from another facility. And if it's, this, all the different regulations, you have to have identified a place that you would intend to open up. You then need to go to the township to go get a letter of approval, and then take that letter of approval to the state to then get a license, which then you would then be allowed to go back to the township and say, okay, we have our license and we're opening up, within the, the property that we're having. The way that they answered this question, because this topic has been brought up, like, are we going to limit? Are we going to talk about limiting? Are we going to have it at a workshop meeting? There was some back and forth with, discussions about the pros, the cons of that sort of thing. And it's been brought up. It's been agreed that we need to talk about it. There's been a lot of, talk about it. The one thing that wasn't mentioned, though, so the answer that Denise got back was that there was, 11 letters of approval that the township has put out. And then council replied back to that in response, saying that we're not going to talk about limiting these things here, because the process is when council is sending the letter of approval, it still needs to go to the zoning board to find out if it's an allowable use as far as zoning goes, kind of like we were talking about the master plan. But the thing that they failed to mention in that is that when you're talking about a redevelopment area, which we have a redevelopment zone redevelopment zone. Yeah. When you have like Blackwood West, or the villages of Gloucester, or all the New Vision, whatever the different areas that you have in there, cannabis use is already an approved use, so it doesn't need to go to the zoning board. But they made it sound as if, we're not going to limit it because it's just going to have to be, it's going to be a problem here at the zoning board anyway. It's already an approved use. So what he answered was basically a complete false, I guess, I don't know, complete false, but I don't know how to say it. It was misguided answer. It was, just like how normally they like to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the fear is, so we've got 11 approved. Doesn't mean we're going to get 11, but we have 11 that now moved on to the state to go for approvals, and then every couple months or so another one or two pop in, and I guess the fear was, all right, what do we get to like 25 approvals? We don't have any right now at all.
Right.
We've got one they said is basically like at the goal line when it comes to coming in.
Which is the one over on Blackwood Clementon Road, the old Friendly's facility. Okay. Yeah.
But if you've got like 25 sitting out there, and then all of a sudden 25 are approved from the state, they come back. Now all of a sudden we got 25 facilities here. And
right.
Some people, that worries some people. And they said, well, how many do we want? The thing is, though, the thing that gets me is we approve them, and then we send them to the state. And I'm pretty sure the process with the state, I think it's like $50,000 to go through the approval process for the state.
Yeah, there's an application fee. It's a non-refundable type of thing, and it's a high. I don't know. I believe it is as well. That's what I am. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, what's the rate? It's a $50,000 basically application fee. That doesn't guarantee you're going to get the thing, but that's how much it costs to pay to play.
I mean, So if you get that far, and the state says, okay, you got it, you pay your $50,000, and you come back, and for whatever reason they say, nah, we're not going to allow that. I think you've opened the
you open yourself up to litigation. That's going to be an issue.
So,
and I think that's where the questioning of, are we going to limit the amounts of letter of approval or a letter of whatever that thing is called? I think it's letter of approval.
Yeah,
that they're giving to these people that want to open up. And we've seen it already at the, what's it called, Giant Fitness over by the Wawa that's near the Hojo, all coming off of 42 on the Black Horse Pike there. There's one person had a letter of approval. That's the property that used to be the old bar, I guess, that burned down next to the Wawa. That guy was at a planning board meeting talking about his thing, and another guy that owns the Giant Fitness is there like, hey, and raising his hand saying like, I also have a letter of approval, and I'm within 1,000 feet of this thing here. So how is that? What if we both want to go? Now we're in violation of what you're saying needs to happen, and the town already issued both of those people a letter of approval. So now what are we gonna have, two of them there and break our own ordinance of what it actually says? Who approved that? How did that all happen? There's a whole thing around it. Or I could have misunderstood it, and the guy that was at the Giant was saying he wanted to do that but didn't actually do it, and now it's a problem. I'm not sure how that all works. But the whole point of it is that the letter of approval, the person having it in hand, is basically the town saying, yes, you can go ahead and move forward with this project. Because when the guy that was next to the Wawa on Black Horse Pike was basically stopped by the residents bringing up the point that, like, hey, it's literally backs up to the trail, which you guys call a park. That violates your thing. It should never have been approved in the first place. I remember sitting there and overhearing the attorney talking to the township, Bach and Associates, the guy, Steve Bach, that like, what the hell, dude? I have the letter right here from the town saying this is approved. Why are we having this conversation right now? Like, they took a timeout during that. I remember overhearing that conversation, be like, oh, that's interesting. So I guess that letter of approval means a hell of a lot more than just how it was posed as this is the process we got to do. We don't really approve it. We're just telling them that we approve it. And that's kind of how it's put out to the public. But apparently, after seeing what I saw with that, it was literally you've given us a letter of approval. I'm going to sue your ass if you don't allow us to go through, because we've now spent all this other money to get to this point.
It's a shame they don't expire, so that we know that maybe the first 5 they didn't go through.
Right. Who knows?
I don't know. How do we know that do we actually still have 11 right now, or do we have 3 because the other one's expired? I don't know that, but it's all it's come to us.
Well, this is a new thing for New Jersey, so I'm sure it's it's going to take a little bit of learning. It's probably similar to liquor licenses. When that had first started, like there are only a certain amount that goes into a town, and they need to go through this process here or whatever. This is all new. This is a new regulation.
Liquor licenses, they're possibly being changed too.
Yeah, that's true too.
There's some new stuff coming out with Governor Murphy to, I guess, get rid of what they call them, the liquor license cartel, and I think make them more affordable. Is kind of what it comes down to. Because the breweries are getting kind of squashed because the breweries don't pay a whole lot for their license. The restaurants pay like $1 million for theirs. So the restaurants are mad because the breweries are doing certain things, but the breweries are saying you're killing our business. So I think they're trying to even that all out now. Right.
It's an ongoing thing, and a learning curve for everybody.
Yeah, they've been around for this long, and they're still a mess.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's not going to get
it's the government. What do you expect?
Yeah.
They're always a mess.
What else we got?
Yeah, we moved on to... after that, we went back to the public portion of the meeting, and there was a resident, Brian Burns, who we have had on clips of in the past.
Oh, yeah.
He's a resident that is very into preserving open space and a lot to do with the environment. He brought up an idea he had brought to me before too about going to the school board with, and asked me to do it, and I had agreed. I didn't know he was going to go to council with it as well, but he did bring up a program that used to be in place called Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs, which gets people out to, kids and stuff, to get out and go fishing, get hooked on fishing instead of hooked on drugs. There's a leader, kind of role, and he was stepping up to take on that role and asking for other members of the community to help. Mainly, I don't want to say leaders, but like, the council members, if there was if somebody wanted to step up and help him, like he had asked me to help, and that was also followed up with, like, who was the last people that did this? Because this is a program that was in existence prior to the pandemic, and there wasn't really, I don't know that anybody had the answer. They said they had to look it up and and see. But yeah, there's a link to that we'll have in the description below, and you can go and take a look and see what the Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs is all about.
Yeah.
I don't know that we had a clip of him asking about that, but that was a recap of what I just kind of said there. So then we get back into the boilers that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, I didn't know that was on here.
What's that?
I didn't know that was on here. I have spoiled the surprise.
What?
But the boilers and the consultant that's going to let them know to put the boiler in the same place that the boiler was.
So Ray Polidoro, one of our, he's always up there asking something. He was asking about the boilers in this clip here.
Earlier at the workshop meeting, you had mentioned replacing 2 boilers.
I'd have to look at what the schedule is on that.
Are you gonna have professionals do it?
Yeah, well, Remington Vernick was.
No, I'm talking about doing the work.
Absolutely.
Okay, can you tell me why there's a need for a consultant with respect, which I have some knowledge of boilers, heaters, air conditioning, and all that stuff. Why we would need a consultant and not rely on a professional business to do its job, and then have our township inspector go in and do their job? What is the amount of money we're going to be paying Remington Vernick to do this consulting?
$37,000.
$37,000 to set up something that's going in the same room at the same spot. Well, all they're doing is upgrading the SEER rating and improvement for energy efficiency. But do you think it's wise to spend?
Everybody I talked to.
It's solid points.
It is.
Well, yeah, because
you have an inspector from the town to make sure that you did the job right. You're hiring a professional company that does this every day of the week, and they're not good enough. You need a consultant to come help you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Replace this. Take this unit that's in this spot. Take that unit there and put this in the same spot that unit was there. $37,000.
If you're a company that comes in and specializes in putting boilers in, I don't want to come in and listen to somebody else, an engineer, to tell me where the boiler is going to go. It's what I do for a living.
Right. Yeah, I know where this goes.
Yeah, I know where it goes. You know where it's going to go? Right where that one came out of. That's where it's going to go.
I'm going to connect all the same stuff. Yeah. I got this, pal. You didn't hire, somebody brand new that needs a. But yeah, so that was the point Ray had made there. He had a couple points. He was a little bit on fire this week. Well, I think we have just at least one more clip of him.
Yeah.
He was asking about, so if you have ever been to a council meeting, you'll know that there are metal detectors to get into council meeting. If you've ever been to a planning board or a zoning board meeting in the same building, there's not metal detectors. If you go to a school board meeting, there's not metal detectors. So I know I've brought it up before, like, who is it that's so important in that room there that needs metal detectors but no one else does? So I guess you have to do processes of elimination to, I guess, figure out who the most important people are that are in there that need the...
Yeah, or you just know, or you just realize, look, we've got this one group of people that are in the township that nobody likes, or they're highly unliked. So that's probably where something might go down.
Right.
So maybe, you know what? Maybe if some new people win, we don't need metal detectors anymore.
Yeah. Well, it was said that these are there for everyone's protection, which that is what metal detectors do. It's to protect everybody there. However, they only protect everybody when everybody goes through them, and that was kind of the point. And I believe this came from Ray, the guy that's asking the question. Again, if you've ever been to a council meeting, you might have seen them. He's the guy that sits in the very back of the room with his own camera recording everything that's going on in there. At his vantage point, he's able to see into the hallway to his right who's coming through and who's going through the metal detectors or not going through the metal detectors. So I'm sure he got there early, saw and just watched people just walk through, and they're up there telling you these metal detectors are for everyone's protection, but yet we are not going to walk through them. So his point was, why? I don't understand. How is it our protection if you're not walking through them? How do I know you don't have something on you? And there really wasn't. I think everybody said they did not go through it, except for council president smiled and said he did go through the metal detectors. He said, I just kept on walking. So I don't know if it went off and he kept on walking. I don't know what that comment meant, but let's play Ray's clip and you can hear him asking.
It's that blue magical suit.
Is there still a need for the metal detectors as we come into the council meetings and no other meetings that are at this building?
I'm not sure why it's not done at planning or zoning, but there's a need here.
Okay, now well, my question is that not for the protection of,
Do you agree? I asked you, do you agree?
well, I'll answer you based on the answer to this question. Is that also providing protection for council and citizens?
Everyone that enters in
Okay,
here.
so would it not be accurate to say that council is going through that detector as well
Yes.
for our protection? All right, is there anybody here tonight that did not pass through that metal detector?
Me.
Myself.
Look at all the hands
Okay.
flying up.
I can't.
Understood? Anyone else?
I did not.
Okay.
I get wanted.
Okay.
I did, I walked through it.
Usually it's set up, it wasn't set up when I walked through, but that's the first, that's the third.
But walking around it is not walking through it. And if it's to be protection for all of us, then it should be applied equally. Would you not agree, Mr.
There's usually
Mikado?
someone there, so was no.
He was
one
right
there?
behind you.
Oh, okay.
See,
And
he
they go through my
saw.
handbag too.
Understood. I mean, if there's a medical reason you can't do it, but if it's there to protect, we'd like it to be protective of all of us.
Yeah. That's a solid point, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know, I guess council members can go unhinged too, and just and get tired of the questioning. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go to some violent outburst.
It's possible. You know? Well,
especially,
yeah.
especially ones that write letters about people.
Yeah.
Also, I think tax abatements were another Ray.
Yeah, Ray did bring up tax abatements too. Yeah, like I said, he was on fire. He had a bunch of them there. He started to argue with Tom Cardis about tax abatements, right? Asking, Wawa that's going to be built.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're going to come here. Royal Farms didn't ask for them. We know it's a whole, I guess a right that those, businesses have to go ask for that, and the town doesn't have the ability to, deny them for that is what they're claiming. But it's not really technically true if other things happen. So.
Well, you could restructure the abatement program completely. Right. And you could say that, Cross Keys Road. Cross Keys Road's pretty well developed. If you want to put a business on Cross Keys Road, there's probably a higher chance. There's a better chance for traffic over there. You go to a place like downtown Blackwood. It's not the most desirable place to put a business right at the moment. Right. So, in a good abatement structure, you'd set up abatements for places that businesses...
Right, to try to direct development into the areas you want developed. Not rewarding you for going over to Hollywood and Vine. You need them over on,
Yeah, but in Gloucester Township, because the entire area is still specified in need of rehabilitation, that the entire township, if you build anywhere in here, you are entitled to an abatement. And the point was made, well, look, Royal Farms didn't ask for one. Why give one to Wawa? And the answer is, well, Royal Farms could have asked for one.
Right.
Just, hey, maybe you show them some support for, hey, not taking any money from your schools. But Wawa is entitled to it because
of our designation as a town, as a whole.
And they'll keep bringing that up and saying, look, Wawa's entitled to it. Well, Wawa's only entitled to it because
of the laws and policies that you've allowed to happen.
Everybody entitled to it, and
Right.
they tell you that we're doing this so that we can compete with all the other towns around us. Now, I would argue Wawa makes the decision, we want this many in Gloucester Township because we already have this many in Washington Township and all the other surrounding
Right.
areas, and this is a spot
They're
where
not doing us a favor coming here.
No,
they're
they're
doing
not.
it as a business decision that I'm going to go there, tax abatement or not. We want to build in that,
Yeah.
in that area. The tax abatement was just the cherry on the cake there, and another resident later on brought that up about the whole like, hey, while you guys are doing the master plan that we talked about earlier on in this thing, let's talk about the whole area in need of rehabilitation that we're handcuffed with here since the 80s of this designation. Let's talk about that too. Let's now make Hollywood and Vine, and you don't get a tax abatement over there. Let's talk about developing areas that we need, developed, because we're at that point. Maybe there was one point in time when the entire township was an area in need of rehabilitation that it's now no longer that. And if it's not, you've done a piss poor job up until this point. If since 1980s you haven't been able to.
I'm glad you said that.
What's that?
I'm glad you said that.
What?
Because that was my first thought. We're like 40 years in.
Right. In 40 years,
40
you
years,
couldn't.
we
Didn't fix it.
We haven't fixed it in 40 years.
You suck.
Yeah, get out of here.
You
Get out of here
suck.
and let other people take it over. That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. When I saw that was, it's been there for 40 years.
Right.
It hasn't been rehabilitated in 40 years. Go. Leave.
Right.
Let somebody else do
Right.
it.
You obviously can't do it.
But you can structure these things. Even if you didn't want to say, all right, you're only getting tax abatement in this one area, you can restructure these things to say that, look, if your company is of this size
Right.
and makes this amount of money, that no, you don't qualify for an abatement. That way we can support small business, but we don't. Wawa doesn't need the abatement money anymore. But maybe we can give abatement money to small businesses. You can structure them however you want to. We did quite a bit of reading on this years ago, but we haven't done anything. We haven't done anything other than just say everybody gets one.
Small businesses don't have deep pockets to donate to your campaign, though. So
Yeah, and that's
you might not want to do that one, Joe. I don't know, unless if you're if that's what you're about, which we know that.
well. I'm probably not going to get any Wawa money, so
Right. Well, let's play the clip from Ray, which was clip 4. Yeah.
We have talked about this on several occasions. Abatements are not necessary just because you say they have to be, because if they didn't have to be, then you wouldn't have to vote on it. Now, while
Solid
we'll be
point.
opening a store up on Blackwood Clementon Road, and we all acknowledge that Blackwood Clementon Road has needed this boost for quite some time. So if and when the time comes that Blackwood Clementon Road, Wawa, is looking for that abatement, I could agree with that. I don't believe, however, that you should be giving away the farm in Erie. They're going to be building a store that they wanted at the location they wanted. They came here and applied for that. Mr. Scott was interested in making that move with them, and all things considered, there was no need to draw them. They wanted that location. They don't need that. These are the choices that they want. They want to be here. Now, the problem with abatements is not so much that, wanting to draw them here, but you're getting your share, 20%, 40%, 60%. The schools are not getting anything. Our teachers and our kids
Amen.
are not getting any money in that 5-year span. You're giving that abatement out. You'll get yours, but our schools, our kids, and our teachers are not getting that money.
Yeah. So very solid point. At some point in time, more schools are going to need to be built based off of all of the already approved housing that's out there, high density housing. We've talked about this before. We've talked about the affordable housing requirements. Lakeland, I think it's like something like 600 units. Then there's I don't have the numbers there, but I know Denise Coyne has them and has gone over them, and it's, I don't even want to say it. It's something like 1,700 new homes or residents or whatever you want to label them as, because they're high density housing, not necessarily housing, but it could be, townhomes or whatever the case is. We've already approved all of this. So at some point in time, it's going to come, which then is going to require more schools to
And more
house
money
the
out of the
kids.
school budget.
And what happens then when there needs to be more schools built? Your taxes are going to go up, and they're going to go up because of that, but there's businesses in town that are going to be not contributing to paying this because they're not paying the school's portion of the tax or the other. It's a whole game that it hurts the school system. It hurts the residents because they're not assisting in paying the taxes, the tax levy that's on the whole town as a whole. But yeah, actually, so Denise, we should skip over to the clip 5 and go to clip 6 there with Denise also asks about that changing that that designation we were just talking about.
To follow up on Ray's line of questioning, since the township is going to reevaluate the master plan, would there be any chance you guys could consider the fact that the entire township is still an area in need of rehabilitation? Because that designation was made in the early 80s. It's been 40 years, and a lot has changed over those 40 years. And I believe that designation is for areas that are dilapidated, and the purpose is to focus redevelopment on certain areas as far as a redevelopment plan goes. But our entire township is still an area in need of redevelopment, which is why I believe Mr. Cardis is saying that anybody that comes in gets a tax abatement. It's because of that designation. And there are numerous municipalities in South Jersey that do not give tax abatements to everyone. The tax abatements are given specifically to specific developers, specific projects in specific areas for the purpose of focusing redevelopment where it's most needed.
Yep.
And everybody does not get a tax abatement.
That is not my understanding.
It is mine because I called every municipality in South Jersey and found that
I
out.
will check with the state, but I'm fairly certain that when you have that program, it is available to all.
Yeah, it's
If
exactly what you
the
just said.
entire township is an area in need of rehabilitation, which most townships in South Jersey are not. And the Boxer report, which was done a number of years ago, specifically identified Gloucester Township as being one of the townships, the few in South Jersey, that abused tax abatements by allowing everybody who came into the township to get an abatement. So most of South Jersey does not follow that practice. Gloucester Township does. There's a few other municipalities in South Jersey that do, but most do not. Most people, most other, I don't know if they're township councils or whatever, but they review the application based on their merits. Everybody does not get a tax abatement. So I'm wondering if that's something that Gloucester Township could take a look at, because 40 years later, I really don't think that the whole entire township is an area in need of rehabilitation. With all the housing units that have been approved, sooner or later, we're going to be looking at building new schools. And if we don't have businesses that are paying school taxes, the residents and the taxpayers are going to be left footing that bill.
Yep.
And it seems to me, if you guys are doing a good job and you're bringing in businesses, it should be helping taxpayers out with ratables. So I'm wondering if that's something that you guys would take a look at, considering that you're reevaluating this master plan. It seems like it would be a timely issue to take, to re-examine that.
I agree that's a good discussion to have as they move forward with this re-examination of the master plan. They anticipate this to take probably 3 to 6 months before I go into the new year. But that's food for thought. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
So yeah, I reached out to someone from Washington Township that had served on their council and still has family on their council now, and I didn't hear back to find out if they still had one, because they would be one of the closest townships and often
it's often compared to us as well, right?
But yeah, it's interesting that I guess Denise did call other townships.
Oh, I know if she said she called every township around here, I know she did call every township around.
So yeah, I'd love to get a list. I think that'd be pretty good. the box report that she mentioned, if you go to restoregt.com under the tax link, I have a link to the box report there.
Yeah.
It's been brought up before. I don't believe Orlando cares for the box report. He kind of rolled his eyes at it. Said it was old and kind of outdated, but then again, so our abatement thing has been for 40 years. So
Right. That's not old and outdated.
that's not old either. The box report isn't that old, so yeah, it's still relevant. So
Well, he had a somewhat uncharacteristic response to her and saying, that is something that we should be, should be discussed. It didn't say it was going to, happen or anything like that. It's not his call; it's the council's call. As
is that
as it
the
says,
old?
but-
We'll let you know. I'll get back to you.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is that when you listen to Cardis's response, who's part of the administration, like the mayor's thing, he was pretty pissy with her about that's not my understanding of it. Okay. And then he goes on to explain exactly what she just described by saying, well, when you have that, everyone's available for it. Yeah, that's exactly what she just said. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, I think I interrupted during the
Yeah.
thing because I couldn't hold back on it. But
So
that's that typical.
I don't know. I don't know. This is probably the last time that they're going to think about it unless somebody brings it back up again.
Oh, yeah.
I doubt they're going to come back out and say, "Hey, we've changed it now."
It takes away power from them by
Yeah.
making them the redevelopment entity. They're not giving that up. They're not going to be like, oh yeah,
No.
we're going to
No, and so it reminds me of the topic that we didn't really talk about. We talked about last time, but I don't think we had it on the agenda. Was the one thing that Orlando was going to get back to people? He was going to get back to Sam Sweet on the.
Oh yeah, did you find out if he did? He was going to get back to him on what was the question again? Do you remember?
Sam wanted to know. So Sam did 2 interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Sam did an interview with the Democratic committee, and then when they passed him through as one of the top 3 for council, he did another interview with council for the position that's now held by Miss Walters, and the one from the Democratic committee made it to NJ Globe in an article where they had bits of that recording with some stuff they felt was undesirable that Sam had commented on. But in talking to the writer and
Now you talked to him personally.
I talked to David Bossing personally, and kind of I thought that I didn't like the article, and I thought I thought it was attacking. I felt like they were attacking Sam because NJ Globe is kind of it's a middle of the road kind of. They lean kind of middle of the road, but I thought they were a little more on the conservative side of things. I thought, and my opinion was, I thought they were just kind of attacking Sam, who I'd view as just kind of a concerned citizen that spends a lot of time doing this stuff.
You thought they were attacking him because he was a Democrat.
Yes. So yeah, I called just to say, hey, what's the angle on this attack here? This is just a guy that's not a politician who's
Right.
just he puts his name on a ballot and tries to help people out, and he's certainly helped out a lot in our township. What's the angle here? And I talked to this guy for 52 minutes. I remember looking at my phone, thinking, wow, that was a long conversation. And in that conversation, he says, look, I've got both videos here. Both of his interviews here. He said, I don't need to release the second one. The first one was quite enough. And I don't know if they're going to release the second one or not. Obviously, Sam lost the primary, so he's no longer a candidate
Right, it's
anymore.
no longer a news story.
But the thing was that
He
second
had them.
he had them. The second video was not anybody's to release to NJ Globe. That was with council. It was in private with council, and that's not something that could have been used as a campaign.
Did Sam ever
thing.
tell you where that took place? The council
in the council chambers?
Okay, so it was in council chambers that they did the interviews for candidates.
Yeah.
That they were putting. Okay.
So
So that should be public record then.
I thought about Oprah in it too, and but I reached out to NJ Globe again this week and said, "Hey, when we talked, you mentioned you had both videos. It was brought up as a topic, and can you expand on it?" And they won't respond to me now. So I've emailed, I've reached out on Twitter. They're
probably not going to, reveal their source or anything like that. That's not.
Yeah,
I wouldn't ask them.
In the original conversation, they said, "Look, we don't give up our sources," which I completely respect. But you can give up. You can give up the information that you receive.
If they just send you here's the link. Here it is. How did they get that without okay? Then let me Oprah that turned into you providing this to this man that just now saved me this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It bothers me because, it bothers me on the NJ Globe side too, because look, their kind of thing is they do reporting on it's all government. It's all about government. All the articles on there.
Sounds
it's
boring.
It's about candidates. Unless you're like a political nerd. I mean, occasionally I read some stuff on there because I'll see it on Twitter. But if you they try to take a higher ground, NJ Globe, and they're for reporting for good government and stuff like that. Well, here's a good example of somebody misusing the system. Yeah. It's article worthy. You don't have to write an article. Just give me back what I asked for.
Right.
And they didn't. So, I'm kind of bummed about that. If we do, we'll talk about it more on here.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk to the guy, and I didn't want to call the guy and talk to the guy for another hour. So, I'm disappointed.
Speaking about talking for an hour,
we've been talking for an hour.
We had a clip of somebody who actually she asked a good question here, I thought. And I pulled this clip. Usually we don't. She's at every council meeting, and we don't actually pull clips of her very often. But she asked a question that I thought was interesting. So
it's the property
play,
line?
number 5, play.
At that workshop that you just had earlier today, before this meeting started, did you move a property line without the owner of the actual property being in this room? Was that what occurred first?
The township is the owner of that property line. We're going to vacate that, and that individual had a property on Pine Court, and they assumed that property for many years was theirs. It's not. It's the township's property.
That was this evening.
Yes.
Do you have the names of those people?
There was Michael and Amanda. I don't have their last name is a mouthful. I'm sorry.
And you do allow them to move a property line?
They requested it, and the township moved forward with vacating that property. They're going to notice the residents in that area, and then they'll work with Mr. Carlamero on that.
Right, but you didn't tell the person who actually owned the property that you were giving it to somebody else.
They own the property. The township owns the property.
So, what I heard or what I got out of that, and you tell me what you think. When they refer to the township owns that property, it's almost as if they're like, these people up here and the mayor's office, we own that property. When the public owns
the property.
Everyone owns that property. So Ms. Smitheman's question technically was, you literally gave everyone in the town's property that they own away to one individual person. You didn't notify everyone in the town, but yet council is making them notify people within 200 feet of that property that they now own that. But what about, to her point, literally the public? So you literally just a swipe of a pen at a workshop meeting, you gave someone a piece of my property, your property, anyone listening that lives in Gloucester Township's property.
Piece of property we've maybe maintained for.
Well, they maintained it, but it was an interesting point that she brought up, and she kept asking, like, you didn't, like, the person's not here. She didn't understand, who owned that property. Yeah. But when you think about who actually does own the property, the township doesn't own crap. The people own.
The people do, yeah.
The township is there representing the people, but they don't own.
Yeah.
They do, but you don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the way
yeah, I know, I get it.
in the
Yeah.
spirit of how he was saying that, it was like, that's ours. That's ours. What do you mean? Not yours. It's ours.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a kind of the same. It's the same mindset that I have when the township says we're going to build you a pickleball court.
Right.
No, you're not building me a pickleball court. You're forcing me.
You're using my
forcing
money.
me to pay for a pickleball
Right.
court for everybody else. Is what,
Yeah.
That's the big argument, you know. So it's
Yeah, I mean that attitude is seen quite often in government, not just here, everywhere. It's just that, like, you know, it's we're doing this for you, but no, you're funded by us, the people. You know, it goes back to that whole organization chart thing that we did quite a ways back.
where the residents aren't on.
Yeah, the one that our town's organization chart does not have residents on it.
But well, you know, look, these people have been there. They've been in these positions for a really long time. It feels like, you know, they feel like they're permanently at home there. So
yeah,
you know, if we cycle through new council people every 4 or 8 years, you know, people come in, they do their time, they serve their community, they move on, and then if the next people come in, that mindset might be different.
Yeah.
But it's not. These people are there for Orlando's going on 20, almost 20 years.
What do they call it? Permanent Washington,
Yeah,
right? There's permanent Washington down in DC. All the bureaucrats. That's, you know, the Tom Cardis that we have standing out there. No one elected him. No one chose him. You know, and yet he has more power than most anybody can even imagine in the town. And I'll be there forever until somebody else, I guess, becomes mayor or something and says we no longer need your services or he retires.
Yeah, you know,
and that's the permanent, like you're talking about. Like, people talk about term limits all the time, but there's people that are just permanent there. Like, you're not going to get rid. They're not term limits as far as an election. They're just in place.
And you know what? So here's something that's been bugging me now. Is there's fatigue in this battle for I just want my government to work right.
Right.
Like people they're tired of it. Like some people have been fighting this fight for like 20 years.
Right.
And they're leaving.
Right.
So if you've noticed, you watch some of these clips now and you see some of these you every week.
It's the same people
It's the same people up there, and if you've paid attention now since we started podcasting, there's less people asking questions now than there was when we started doing podcasting. And the simple fact is, it's because they're gone. They've left our town.
Right.
So some of the best people for asking questions, and then, you know, some people sometimes you read the agenda and you're like, not a whole lot on here. But there's some people that read the agenda and they pull stuff out and you're like, damn, I didn't see that. Well, those people, they're leaving. They're fed up. They're fatigued from this. Some of them are gone already. Some of them have already purchased houses somewhere else. And it's really troubling to know that they're all going away.
Yep.
Everyone that's trying to fight this battle, they're eventually just getting burned out and they're going away. And I feel like this is the last year. It's July. By November, if we don't make a big change by November, I don't know how many other people are going to continue this fight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just something that was just on my mind. I'm thinking, man, all these people are leaving now. And there's not new people coming in to replace them.
And the people are leaving. I mean, there are huge losses to people like you and I that are like, I don't want to call warriors, but, you know, like we're in the heat of this whole thing. We're doing a freaking podcast. We've spent, you know, tons of money on equipment and tons of time of our own, like, to go and just to be able to, you know, talk to you guys about it. Funnel to, you know, information from some of those people who did research for hours and hours on their own, it's all to inform everyone of, here's what's going on. This is our town. This is our government. This is what they should be, you know, this is what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's just opening people's eyes. And they've just given up. They said, we've done this for too long. We're getting nowhere. There's no one else jumps in to help us. So it's somewhat of a plea to everybody. Like, I mean, come on, guys. You can't do anything to come help us. There was a point made about, like even the campaigning fundraising thing. Like, with how many voters there are in town, if you had everyone has their own busy life. We all understand. You're busy with your busy life, so that's fine. If you can't do that, give $20. You spend probably $20 on 2 Starbucks drinks a day.
Yeah.
Give it to the campaign to help raise money to help those people be able to, get out and get a message out and help create the change that you also want, but you don't have the time or the effort or the energy to, to get out there. And it's just, it's got to be disheartening to somebody like, like yourself running now for council. If you were to lose, like you said, like that's it. You're going to be done, right? It's just how much more time can you?
Yeah, this is when we sit in conversations now, when we do campaign meetings, that there's a lot of stuff that was learned in the past. They're talking about, and we talk about stuff that's, well, look, we'll take this information, let's save this so that next time, and I'm like, guys, there's not a next time. Like, there's not a next time for me. I did it in 21. I swore I'd never do it again. I'm doing it in 23 because I feel like there's a little more I can give. I'm done. November 8th, I'm either getting ready to go on council, or you're not going to see me at political events. I can podcast on it still,
right?
But I'm not gonna. I'm not spending any more time doing any.
Well, the way I've looked at it is that they actually enjoy being in second place. You know what I mean? Like there's no other explanation about it. If there's an entire party that has that many registered voters in there and nobody comes out against the opposition, you love second place. You're perfectly happy there. You know what I mean? Like explain it another way.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, we're thinking, and I forget what. So, in 21, 9,000 people voted for either the Restore GT team or the Republican team. But either way, they voted against the current administration.
Right.
If 9,000 people went and voted against it, obviously they had a reason to vote against it. Or maybe they just said, you know what, I don't like Democrats. Whatever dumb reason, they just voted that way.
Right.
But if the 9,000 people gave $20, we have a $180,000 campaign. We're going
to do some damage with that and actually maybe win.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, we're fighting against a $100,000 campaign. Nobody's ever raised more money than the Democrats. They've probably already stacked up now to go for 23. But you're asking like all this talk of fundraisers and all the planning we're doing for fundraisers and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? If it were me, if you asked me, hey, would you come to a fundraiser and spend this amount of money, sit at a dinner while listening to somebody talk, or just give me $20 and stay home?
Right. I'll never bother you again. I'll help fix things.
I'll give you $100. I'll stay home. I'll go about doing my thing. You guys have your dinners or whatever. But, it's... Look, I didn't even want to ask for money. But, and people are going to be mad because I asked for money. But, look, if Team Glow Twip, you want to donate. Because it's kind of
GLOTWP, right? Just like our town spells it for their website. Yep. Team Glow Twip.
If you want to donate money, it's a fantastic way to get us started. Because, look, there's going to be fundraisers coming up. It's kind of early because we're still in the planning stage. There's going to be a kind of a kick-ass thing we're planning right now.
Yeah.
What was it? August
31st.
August 31st on a Thursday.
It's a Thursday night. Yeah, it's going to be some. I don't know if we can say everything here.
Look, as we're trying.
Yeah.
It's axe throwing. It's bourbon tasting. It's good. It's look. Last thing we wanted to do was just do a run of like
hey, let's go to this restaurant and charge you,
let's-
twice as much as you could pay to go by yourself there.
Let's spend a lot of money on dinner, and then we'll listen to some politician talk, and then we want to have something fun. We did a Second Amendment fundraiser where we taught people how to fire weapons at a range. We trained people. Everybody loved it.
Safely.
Safely. We sold out. It's not the first time we did it. It's like the third one that I've been to. It sells out every time. There's another one of those coming in September.
Right.
We want to do fun things. We want to be different than everybody else and do fun things. And look, it's going to be. Hopefully it is everything that we're planning, because you guys are going to love it.
Yeah, it'll be a great time.
We can fit a ton of people at this place too. So
There's alcohol involved, there's axe throwing. How can you go wrong with those two? That's as safe as you can get. And then there's going to be potentially there's like cornhole tournaments as well. There's pool tables, so maybe you can have billiard table or how do you say it? Pool. You used to go in a pool hall.
yeah,
right?
billiards.
Billiards, yeah.
Yeah, come to fundraisers or like if you just want to stay home, throw a couple bucks in the donation thing, man. It's if you truly believe in us or in the team that I'm with, they're good guys. They're really good guys, and the great thing about them is, the great thing about the four of us is we didn't want to do this.
That's the thing is you guys are stepping up to do something that you feel the need that like no one else is stepping up to do this. So I will. I'll raise my hand and do it.
We were
you know how
on
many
this
times
podcast
I've done that in my life?
for
I was
months.
like, I don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
We were on this podcast for months saying, if you want to run, we will put you in contact with the right people. We
Right.
have, we got ties with different people that were around on the Democrat side for the primaries, and we said, if you don't want to do that, we've got people from the Republican committee that we can put you in contact just to get people to run, change the government. And honestly, really nobody wanted to do it. So
yeah. Do we have a cricket sound clip? No. We should get one of those.
but man, it was
We do have a clip though. Where's the failed one on there?
Yeah, that's my
We asked, and guess what happened?
Don't suck.
Yeah, don't suck.
Don't suck. Yeah, let's get this thing started, man. It's mid-July.
It's gonna be here before you know it.
We got to make a run
so
to November now.
if you guys are gonna do it, you should start it up now.
Even if you don't like us, even if you're Orlando, send some money over. Come on, take it.
$20. You can afford it.
$20. That all we got?
I think so. We did have we had one more clip. So Miss Smitheman was thanking council for tolerating
This
her.
is what it's come down to.
Thank you for tolerating me, Council.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for tolerating us, Gloucester Township, and providing you a podcast, the #1 podcast.
Yeah, subscribe. You haven't subscribed yet. I mean, we're getting a lot of good subscribers. I think the signs have got some traction. You want to sign for this podcast? It's just a big QR code.
Yeah.
So it's a podcast about GT. Got a QR code. Put it on your front lawn. Get other people talking. It's easier. It's easier than getting on social media and constantly rambling on about us and taxes to your Facebook friends. Just slap a thing in your front yard. Let other people figure it out for themselves.
Yep. So
So-
a big QR code. I got that idea. It was from Coinbase during the Super Bowl. Had a commercial.
Yes.
It was just a QR code. Went around. I'm like, what?
You can't.
Who
you got
spent that? Like, you gotta
do it. You gotta do it.
Who made a yard sign with just a big QR code? So that's where that idea came from.
Yeah, we were going to stick them to people's cars, but this was less offensive to people. So, yeah, you want to sign, reach out, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you've never been to the website, it's restoregT.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter,
Yep, just look
Rumble,
up Restore GT. You'll find us.
YouTube. We're everywhere.
Yep.
See you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.